Hi Saurav, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good. How are you? Thanks.
I'm good, I'm good. So, thank you so much, Saurav, for joining. And yes, welcome to this live session. We are going to have this session with you, definitely. So, guys, I hope people watching me out, we are having Saurav Shah with us, and the live is being organized by Indian Cybersecurity Solution. And definitely, Saurav is having with us with years of experience in definitely different domains and relates to the cybersecurity as well as bug bounty, OACP, and different other certified person. Okay, so Saurav, today in today's session, definitely I am welcoming you with my heart warm, and yes, I would like you to proceed further with a lot of which are like insights and the knowledge which you are going to provide today. So, Saurav, over to you. Would like to hear from you with the various kinds of things in relates to today's topic.
Okay.
Over to you, Saurav. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. So, as our topic today is penetration testing and bug bounty. So, what is bug bounty then? Bug bounty is nothing just penetrating a system. It
Yes.
can be anything like network. It can be web application. It can be Android application. It can be some kind of other applications as well. So, if we find any kind of bugs on the um, target system, so whatever it is, so and we can report the bugs, I mean the vulnerability, to the company, and once the company accepts my report and fixes the bugs or the vulnerabilities, then the company is gonna pay me some kind of reward money. Okay,
Okay.
so that is bug bounty, that's it. So to doing so, like doing the bug bounty, we just have to know and we just have to understand the vulnerabilities, and we have to know the exploitation of those vulnerabilities. So
Okay.
that is the
Great.
thing.
So today we are going to learn all these things with different kind of topics as well as the practical as well.
Yes,
Great,
yes,
superb.
definitely. Yes, some practical, yes.
Definitely, these are few things which is actually required right now, Saurav, and I'm happy that and I'm very glad that you are out here with us, going to share us with a lot of practical things even because although we are going through these kinds of theoretical, but the practical which is going to be explored right now would be better for the audience as well as the people watching out us. Yeah, so
Okay,
you can go forward. Yeah, sort of.
okay. So let me share my screen.
Definitely.
Please let me know if my screen is visible. Okay, so yeah, see, as we know that bug bounty is penetration testing only, penetrating a system. So to penetrate a system, we have to know some vulnerabilities, like WASP top 10 vulnerabilities. So let's see what is WASP top 10. So WASP top 10 vulnerabilities 2023. This is the list of vulnerabilities of WASP top 10. And also, so let's see what is WASP then. WASP, and go for wasp.org, and here we can see who is the WASP top 10 foundation. The Open Worldwide Application Security Project, WASP, Web Application Security Project. Then is a non-profit foundation that works to improve the security of software through community led open source software projects, hundreds of local chapters worldwide, tens of thousands of members, and leading educational and training conferences. The WASP Foundation is the source of for developers and technologies to secure the web. And WASP also do all these tools and resources. WASP allows us to get all this data from the WASP. Then community and networking, then education and training, and also, so as we can see, WASP is a non-profitable organization. So WASP just list out all the vulnerabilities, whatever is found over the internet, whatever the vulnerabilities found for the web application. So those kind of vulnerabilities has its severity and has its number of found in a web application. So the more number of vulnerabilities, I mean the vulnerability is found the in the more number of web application, the vulnerability becomes popular, right? And then the vulnerability can be listed out in the WASP top 10. So here we can see the first vulnerability, that is broken access control. So what is broken access control then? So if I uh, tell you that what is broken access control, and also I'll be showing you that how we can learn these things and from where we can get all this information, that what is the broken access control. So nothing, we just have to do, just we can google that, define broken access control. If you google like this, and we can get this kind of app websites, and here we can see the first link, and also from the google we can read something, what is broken access control. At its core, broken access control is simply a scenario which attackers can access, modify, delete, or perform actions outside an application or system's indeed intended permissions. So if you don't understand, let's read the full blog. So we can read the full blog from here, right? So let's understand this vulnerability. Just assume this is the server. This is the server, and these are some users of this server. So all these user can connect to this server, right? So all these users are connected to the server, and let's group them. Okay, and assume this is admin user, or we can say administrator, and this user is a normal user. So we can name it as user 1 and user 2. So these are some users of this server, and in this server it is running a web application. So we can write it like this: web app. application. And in this web application has a login prompt and has some functionalities, and some functionalities are accessible through administrators only, and some functionalities are accessible through all of the users. Okay. So that means the admin user has some functionalities, extra features to access to this web application, to this server. So if an attacker, let's take another user, so we'll be considering that user as as an attacker user. So this is an attacker attacker user, attacker user. Yeah. So this is also a user, sorry, of this web application. And if this attacker is a normal user, like all this user 1 and user 2, this is also a normal user, user 3. Okay. So definitely this attacker user does not have the permission of this administrator user. So somehow, by leveraging any kind of functionalities of this web application, and by modifying its request, is sending it to the server, if the attacker can take the advantage of the functionalities and can access the administrator functions, administrator functionalities, or we can say administrator features, so that will be considered as broken application, broken access control. So what I've said, just assume, let me demonstrate this with some more example, like uh, admin user, administrator user can change as a extra functionality, that is change the password of all users. This is the extra functionality, admin functionality. And so this administrator has this extra functionality, that is this administrator user can change the password of all the users. So somehow if the attacker can um, send a crafted request, and that will be considered as the administrator request, although this attacker is not a administrator user, but still if the attacker can send a request like an administrator user, so the attacker will have the access to the change password functionality. So that is the broken access control. Then another vulnerability is found in the web application that is common, that is known as A02 2021, because this WASP uh, generates a top 10 list of top 10 vulnerabilities in the year span of 4 years. So this is the last year 2021 that they have introduced a new list of vulnerabilities, new list of top 10 vulnerabilities. So the second vulnerability is cryptographic failure. So again we can write in the Google, that is what is cryptographic failures, failures, WASP. As per WASP, cryptographic failure is symptom instead of a cause. Any failure responsible for the exposure of sensitive and critical data to an unauthorized entity can be considered as cryptographic failure. So cryptographic failure means that, so this cryptography, this cryptographic failure means that, if in any case, if anyone can see other the encrypted data, so that means the encryption of that data is failing at that moment. So that means that will be considered as cryptographic failures. Just take an example. See, nowadays, um, the term that is end-to-end encryption, this term is so much popular because most of the messaging companies are using that term, and also they're securing the end-to-end conversation between the users are encrypting to the end to end. So that means one user can send the encrypted data to the other user, to the receiver of that message, and the receiver will be having a decryption key to decrypt that message. So just, so that means we can consider this thing. There are two multiple users, so all the users are connected in between them. All the users are connected. All the users are connected right now to each of them. So that means if this user is communicating, is sending some message to this user, and in the same time this user is also sending some message to this user also. So that means the uh, communication in between this user and this user will be encrypted, and the encryption key at that moment to decrypt the encrypted message to both the users will be different. And if this user is communicating with this user, so the encryption key to encrypt the both the messages or the communication will be different. So that means using the same key, this user cannot decrypt this user's message which is sent by this user. So that is the thing. That is cryptography. That is the encryption, and that is the end-to-end encryption. So here, this if somehow any user can decode the message, can decrypt the message using the same decryption key, or maybe using some other methodologies. So that means the other user can read the other user's data, the message, the conversation, or you can say. So that thing will be considered as cryptographic failures. So that was just an example. So it can be anything. So if any encryption types of thing or the cryptographic failures are there, so that vulnerability will be considered as cryptographic failures of WASP top 10 A02. Then injection. Injection. So what is injection again? What is injection? So injection has, so injection in uh, penetration testing. So because this injection can be used in multiple fields, right? So why I'm this mentioning this penetration testing, because we are searching this injection for the penetration testing only. So injection is an attacker's attempt to send data to an application in a way that will change the meaning of the commands being sent to the interpreter. For example, the most common is SQL injection. where an attacker sends 1 or 1 101 or 1 equal 1 instead of just 101. So anyways, I'm gonna explaining this thing, so let's see what is this, right? Injection has multiple types, so it can be SQL injection, it can be command injection, it can be XML entity injection, or it can be HTML injection. So anyways, it can be anything. So between all these injections, SQL injection is the most popular injection. So let's understand this SQL injection. So what we have seen over there, this 101 or 1 equal 1 instead of just 101. So what does this mean? If you know the DBMS, the SQL, if you know the SQL, then uh, in general we send data like this: select star from, or let's suppose we want to extract the username from the DBMS, from the SQL database. So select user from users table. So user is the field in the users table where user is equal user 1. So suppose this is the user 1, or we can consider this kind of query like select product, no, stock from products. So what I'm trying to do, I'm just trying to extract the number of products, or a number of stocks of that product is stored in my store, in my retail shop. So stock is the stock, this is in small, yeah. Stock is one parameter, stock is the field, and products products is the table. Okay, so what I'm trying to do, I'm just trying to get the information of the stock, the how much stock is available in my store. See, select stock from products where uh, s- product name, okay, product name is equal, suppose hand wash. Trying to see how much what is the number of, what is the quantity, what is the number of hand wash bottle is um, I'm having right now in my store. So I can get that data with this query. So products is the table name, product name is another field, and stock is another field. So I just want to check the stock of the product name, that is hand wash. So suppose the value I'm getting after requesting this, after sending this SQL query, so I'm getting 101. So this is the quantity of the hand wash bottles are stored in my store, that is 101. So what I can do? So what does this mean, 101 or 1 equal 1, right? So suppose I just want to check all the data, all the data, or we can say, okay, yeah, let's take another example. Select. Now I just want to check what is the name of the product, uh, which product is I'm the number of stock I'm having 101, right? So I'm just doing this thing in reverse. Now I just want to check, so which product is stored in my store with the number of 101. So select, uh, okay, select product name from products where stock is equal 101. Okay, so this is my query. So now I can send another query of SQL. So if I can inject my query, which is not supposed to send over the network by this web application to the server, which is not supposed to send by this web application to the server. So if I can send that application, send that request to that query, so if the DBMS executes that query, so then I can understand and I can consider the vulnerability as SQL injection. See, if I send 101 or 1 equal 1, so if I send just along with this query, if I send this one, so that means 101 is already there. So or 1 equal 1. So what the DBMS will understand, I just want to check uh, 101, okay, or if this is not true, so I'll be sending, or I'm forcing the DBMS to understand 1 equal 1 to take this query also, right? So what the DBMS will understand, select product name from products where stock is equal 101, okay, if the number of stock is 101, or I can change the number to anything, right? So 10 or 101 or 1010, whatever. So send that number, or, and now this DBMS will take, if this is not true, so this is true definitely, because 1 is equal 1 for always. This is not 2 or 3 or 1.5 or anything, not 1.000001 also. So this 1 equal 1 is always true. So this is true, and this is false. So 1 equal 1 is always true. So now the DBMS will send all the product names are stored into this products table. So as like this, I can fetch all of the data, all of the data is stored into this DBMS, right? So as like this, we can inject some other commands as well. So I just given an example using the SQL, using some queries of SQL. So because I was explaining the SQL injection only. So as like that, we can consider all this kind of application, these types of injections as well. So this was SQL injection. And then in number third, so all the types of injections are included under the injection A03. Then insecure design. So what is insecure design? What is insecure design vulnerability? Insecure design is a type of flaw that can sit in the background of everything you do. This vulnerability relates to how, you as developer, design your program, architect solutions, and employ security practices such as threat modeling, meaning that insecure design can present itself in a wide variety of ways. So, if the developer is not designing the software properly, so it can be vulnerable, it can be buggy. So in engineering, we have if we have learned multiple types of designing the models as well, like ERD. There are multiple different types of diagrams like ERD. Then other ERD, DFD, case diagram. So all these are included in this type. So if the software is not designed well, so it can be vulnerable. Then fifth, security misconfigurations. So security misconfiguration anything can be anything, like if you are not configuring your system properly. Suppose you are configuring a FTP server. You are you are configuring a FTP server or a Samba SMB server. Okay, SMB server, and in both the server I am um, allowing the guest user. Okay, I'm if I'm allowing guest user without password, so the system will definitely allow the guest user without the password. So there is no there will be no meaning of setting the password for the local users, so that means any guest user, any user can see all the data are stored into the FTP server or in this SMB servers without authenticating itself. They can see all the other users data without authenticating them. So that is one kind of vulnerability misconfiguration. So this kind of misconfiguration vulnerability can be anything. So which vulnerability is related to configuration of that application, that will come under the misconfiguration, security misconfiguration. Then vulnerable and outdated components. Vulnerable and outdated components. Yes, as we know, um, we all know nowadays that our applications and the other softwares, not only application softwares, the system softwares also has to be updated for all the time. So because uh, without updating my softwares, I'm just making the system vulnerable. So that's why companies provide the updates of those softwares. Then identification and authentication failures. Identification and authentication failures. So what is identification or authentication? If any application is failed to authenticate me, then that will be considered as identification and failures. Let's take an example. This is a web application. Here, the username is test and password is also test. So if I type my username test and password test and hit enter, I'm authenticated. Now I'm logged out. Sorry. So now, in any case, by sending some crafted queries, in and anyhow, if I can log in without authenticating myself, without entering the username and password, if I can log in, then that will be considered as authentication failure. So, if I want to show you, so I have told you 101 or 1 equal 1. Copy this and send this for the password also and enter. Now I'm not logged in because this was a number and username and password is always considered as text. So if I change this number to string, so maybe after that I can log in. So let's see how. So whenever I was sending a text, you have already seen there is a single code defined in the beginning and single quote defined in the last of that string. So that means if I send my username test, this test is also sending through the application to the the DBMS, the SQL, like this only test, like right. So if I just assume a query like select star from users where username or uname. Let's take uname. Uname is the username and uname test and pass pass as test. So if both are correct for the DBMS, then in I can log in. See, the SQL does not care about the data is stored into it. What it cares for this, what it cares only, it cares for the data what I'm sending while I'm trying to log in. So if I want to log in, then my username has to be same, which is stored has to be same with the data which is stored into the DBMS, which is stored into the users table of that SQL database. So if this test is equal to the data is with this test, then the DBMS will only allow me. Otherwise the DBMS will never allow me. So if I take this example, test is the username. Let's suppose I'm sending 101 over there. This 101 will also be sent like this single quote 101 single quote. That means there is a predefined single quote. So in my query, I'll not be adding another single quote, and after entering the 101, I'll be closing that string. Then or another one, another query which is single quote one single quote. Now this one became a string and equal single quote 1, but I'm not closing this string 1 because there is a predefined single quote. So copy this and sending it to the username and the password field also, and click on login. But I'm make mistake. Oh, sorry. There's this single quote error actually. I just have to replace the single quotes. That was, this character was not treating as a single quote for this PHP application. So copy this and send it in the password also, and hit enter. Now I'm logged in. This is SQL injection, and I am identification and authentication failure. Now this was authentication failure, but if identification and authentication failure, if I consider that thing, let's suppose, let me log in into Flipkart. Okay, here we can see, here I'm logged in with my user account. So this is my name. So as you can see, and this is just an extension of browser. So all of you can install this kind of extension in your any kind of browser. Like the extension name is cookie editor, and the browser I'm using right now is Chrome cookie editor, and open anyone and install that one. So here you'll be getting a button like add to Chrome. So as I'm having this already, so then that's why I'm not getting this add to Chrome button. So I'm just getting remove from Chrome button. So anyways, I'm having that extension installed in my browser. So I can export this cookie in a JSON format, um, cookie. So this cookie is used as um, authentication of my with my username into this web application, this Flipkart. And now if I use the same cookie in my Firefox also, as you can see, I'm not logged in into this Flipkart. Now I'll be replacing this existing cookie with that cookie which is authenticated over here already. So select and import and paste that cookie, import, and now just refresh the URL or refresh the page again. Now you can see I'm again logged in. So this vulnerability called as session fixation, and nowadays most of the web application has this vulnerability. You can try this on other websites as well, like Facebook, Amazon, or anything. So here we can see I'm logged in. So this is the authentication failure. Now if I remove this cookie and refresh this page again, now I can see I'm not logged in. So all the matter was of authentication using the cookie. So once I cleared the cookies site data and I refreshed the page, then I could see this prompt, login prompt, which means I'm not logged in, which means I'm not logged in. So this is identification and authentication failures. Then software and data integrity failures. So what is software and data integrity failures then? Software and data integrity failures relate to code and infrastructure that does not protect against integrity violations. An example of this where an application relies upon plugins, libraries, or modules from untrusted resources, repositories, and content delivery networks (CDNs). So, software and data integrity failures. That means the data I'm sending to the software I'm sending to the server is not integrated. That can be uh, tampered in between the communication of the client and server. That means we can tamper the data in the network, and if I send that data to the server, and server or you can say the software is accepting that data, so that is considered as software and data integrity failures. Then security logging and monitoring. So what is security logging and monitoring? So this is not a now I can say this is not a direct vulnerability, and as like before the vulnerabilities I have just explained for all these types. So in this type I cannot show you so with any kind of practical example, because this is not a direct vulnerability to the web application. So what is this then? So this vulnerability comes when the system is not properly monitored by anyone, or anyone is logging into the system without the authorization, and any types of vulnerability um, occurs with that kind of performance, or we can say without with the lack of monitoring that system. So what are the threats are coming to the organization, that is considered as the security logging and monitoring failures. So let's copy and search in Google. What is this? Security logging and monitoring is intended to be an early indicator of cyber threats and data breaches. Without proper systems in place, your business can be at risk of the following: login and failed attempts not being logged. All login attempts should be recorded. So this is security login and monitoring. Like, let's take an example again. Here in my system, whenever I log in, I can log those tracks when I'm trying to log in into my system. So I can see them by watching the log of my system. So different systems source their logs in different locations. Let's take an example of Linux. So the location is log, and here I can see all the log files. And if I want to see the authentication logs, then this is the file we should look at it, cat and auth.log. So this is my log file for today. So today I have logged in at this time. So my system, sorry, what is the time? The time is this 7:25:52, because my system time right now is this 7:27. So we can see I have logged in. So just in front of you, I just started this system, and system is powering down. So yesterday I shut down this system at 16:53 of this system's time, according to this system's time. So this was an example of Linux. And in Windows as well, we can see the log, Windows tools, event viewer, and here we can see Windows logs, and these are the logs of my system. This is application log. If you double click this, you will be watching the application log, then security log, then other types of logs. So this was for Windows. So if any malicious user is logging into this system at any time, which no one is here, which no when no one is looking, well, no one is watching this system, then if any malicious user logging into this system and does something, and just because of that the system is malfunctioning, then that vulnerability will be considered as security logging and monitoring. Then the last but not the least, because this is the uh, WASP top 10 vulnerabilities, not the all of the vulnerabilities. So last one of the WASP top 10 is server side request forgery. Server side request forgery. So let's see what is server side request forgery. This is also known as SSRF. So SSRF means that just accessing the unintended location. What is server side request forgery? Server side request forgery is a type of computer security exploit where an attacker abuses the functionality of a server, causing to causing it to access or manipulating information in the realm of of that server that would otherwise not be directly accessible to the attacker. So which means if any attacker can access any hidden files, any hidden file of the server which is not directly accessible by the attacker, just by crafting their request to access that file, if that attacker is successful to access that data or the file, then that will be considered as SSRF, server side request forgery. So here we can see the different types of The target application may have functionality for importing data from URL, publishing data to a URL, or otherwise reading data from a URL that can be tampered with. The attacker modifies the calls to this functionality by supplying a completely different URL or by manipulating how URLs are built, path reversal, etc. When the manipulated request goes to the server-side code picks up to the manipulated URL and tries to read the data to the manipulated URL. By selecting the target URLs, the attacker may be able to read data from services that are not directly exposed to the internet. So this can be these types like cloud server metadata. Cloud services such as AWS provide a REST interface on, okay, then where important configuration and sometimes even authentication keys can be extracted. Database HTTP interfaces. NoSQL databases such as MongoDB provide REST interfaces on HTTP ports. If the attacker database is expected to only be available to internally authenticated, may be disabled, and the attacker can extract data internal REST interfaces files. The attacker may be able to read files using file URLs. So what is this then? Nowadays, softwares or the websites are hosted in a cloud architecture, cloud computer. So the cloud communicates to the backend server with the local network IP only, not with the public network IP. So um, in the front, so as the front end server, the cloud services uses a reverse proxy, and then the reverse proxy sends the requested data to the backend server. Then, if anyhow the attacker can access the backend server by just sending some kind of request by encoding their payloads, encoding some request, um, and that request will be for the backend server. So that reverse proxy will definitely be sending that request to the backend server, and the backend server will process that data. So at that moment, the attacker can access the hidden files or the local files of that system. Okay, so all these were the WASP top 10 vulnerabilities. And if you want to be a bug bounty hunter, you will have to know and understand all these vulnerabilities and from the scratch, and you will have to know how to exploit them. Then you can find your first bug on your target server, or we can say the web application, and you can make a report on the basis of that. Then report it to the company, and company is gonna give you some reward. Okay, so that was all, and thank you all. Thanks for your time, and thank you.